Hey, hey, hey. Happy Wednesday. Come on in. Pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host, here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by, incredibly enough, thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. So welcome aboard. Tonight is Wednesday, August 23rd, 2023. This is live stream 955. Yes, welcome aboard. If you're not overly familiar with this show, let me point out, super casual around here. Just hanging out, having some fun, having some laughs, talking about the latest in tabletop gaming news, as well as normally taking a first look at a game. So it's not as if we're engaged in any sort of rocket surgery or anything along those lines. Just hanging out, having some fun. And tonight, it is a Wargame Wednesday. Yes. So we are going to dive on in and take a first look at Flying Colors Volume 4 under the Southern Cross from GMT Games. This is an Age of Sail naval war game. We're going to be diving on in, taking a look at this in just a bit. If you're not overly familiar with the show, I should mention that it's usually about 35 minutes or more before we jump into our first looks, or once in a while I'll do a live review, because we tackle the tabletop gaming news first around here. So if you are tuning in live because you want to get a look at Flying Colors under the Southern Cross, kick back, relax, put your feet up. It's Wednesday. Happy hump day. Getting closer and closer to the weekend. So be good to yourself. Just relax. Now, if you happen to be watching this 30 minutes or more after the show's ended, well, if you're impatient and you just gotta get to that first look, you'll be able to. There are timestamps which will allow you to skip past tabletop gaming news if you'd like, although I always have cool gaming news, but you can jump past using the timestamps. They are located in the show notes, and depending on what device you might be watching this on, those timestamps might be right there in the timeline of the video itself. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more that you will not find here on the YouTube channel. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Lastly, since this is a live stream, that means there is chat available. It's not on screen. It's one of the ways I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. But if you happen to be a subscriber to the channel for 48 hours or more, you can take part in chat. So if you want to say howdy, maybe you've got a question, a comment, maybe you want to get a closer look at something regarding Under the Southern Cross, by all means, chime in. I will do my best to respond. First out the gate tonight, Kathy Evans is leading the pack, and followed by the Motor City Madman. Yes, the Madman is with us. He is one of our chat moderators, as is Sarah D., who is not necessarily lurking. She's just jumping right out saying, howdy, everybody. And Mr. Marmello has shared a super chat for $2 New Zealand dollars. Appreciate that. Thank you. And Kevin R. Smith is with us as well. So Sarah D says, howdy, gang. Jeff, unsure if you're aware that your tweet or X whatever Rocket Boy is calling it these days. Links to yesterday's stream, not the live show. Yeah, I wasn't paying attention. Dope. Oh, well. Sorry. I don't know. I'm telling you, this working on this deck, trying to do this stuff and try to finish up this deck, especially in this heat. Ugh. Yeah. So, well, you can enjoy yesterday's stream for those people who GMT retweeted the tweet to. I don't know. Plus, I have to point out, I'm going to be giving away that Pop Yourself code once again from Funko because Roger Prudhomme happens to live in Canada and Funko will not ship internationally. Something I did not know. So Roger won the contest yesterday, and I guess he got it all set up. He goes to submit it, and it says, sorry, we can't process this because you live in Canada. So I'll be giving that away again a little bit later. I'll do it after the news. So, yes, thank you for pointing that out, Sarah. What I'll probably end up doing is after the show's over, I'll just delete that tweet because I'll have the actual real stream post up on Rocket Boy's site. Man, I sure wish I could get myself an invite to Blue Skies, but just haven't had an opportunity because I'd like to get on Twitter. Although, as much as a shithole as that place is, a cesspool of disgustingness, does draw a lot of people to the Gaming Gang website as well as the YouTube channel. So not everybody is a piece of shit over at Twitter, but there's far more of it than I'm comfortable with. All right, let's jump on into the news because this October brings an interesting new title from Capstone Games. Here's what I know about Match of the Century. In the summer of 1972, the final match of the World Chess Championship in Reykjavik saw the ultimate showdown. American Bobby Fischer challenged the reigning world champion, Boris Spassky, from the Soviet Union. Touted by the media as the most important sporting event of the Cold War, an incomparable thriller unfolded, and now you are right in the middle of it. In Match of the Century, you play one another over a series of games, just as in a real championship match. However, here each game lasts only a few short and intense turns, so every decision counts in pulling off the win. As you play cards with unique effects from your asymmetric decks, each of you manipulates the mental endurance of the other and the outcome of each quick game. But weigh your options carefully, because only by giving up the advantage can you use the effects of your cards. Match of the Century is the spiritual successor to the award-winning Watergate. It happens to be for two players, ages 10 and up, plays in around 30 to 45 minutes, and it will carry an MSRP of $34.95 when it arrives in stores in October. I should also mention that through, I think, September 30th, you can get Match of the Century bundled with Watergate for $59.95. So there's Roger Prudhomme joining us, as has Ben Whisper. So welcome to you both. All right, so I have to mention something about this game that I'm a little curious about. I'm a little uncomfortable with, I guess I will say. Now, supposedly, as there was in Watergate, there's supposed to be like a little historical booklet which is going to talk about this World Chess Championship in 1972. I got to be honest, The reason why I'm kind of uncomfortable with this game, even though I bet you it's going to be really good, because I really like Watergate. In fact, Watergate has a really soft spot in my heart because my best friend Elliot Miller brought that to the hospital and we played it multiple times one Saturday afternoon while I was awaiting to have my triple bypass. Yes. But the issue I have is Bobby Fischer was a raging anti-Semite. If you want an example, I'm not going to actually say what the quote is, but take a look at a quote. If I remember correctly, it's from the 1980s, or it might have been 1990s, where Bobby Fischer talks about who runs the United States. And it's like, whoa, yowza. So the issue I have is that obviously enough, many people in the United States who will pick this game up will be kind of like rooting for Bobby Fischer, probably without the realization that he was just a complete piece of shit as a human being. So Kevin says, oh yeah, Bobby Fischer had major issues as a human being. Plus, the other thing too is I understand in the 1972 World Championship, it's like, USA. Bobby Fischer, years later, hated the United States, could not stand the United States, did not live in the United States, was not a citizen of the United States. Don't know if any of this is going to be mentioned in Match of the Century. But that's why I said the game kind of makes me a little uncomfortable. I would have liked to have seen this just been an American versus a Soviet. You could make it abstract. You could have made it abstract. You don't have to name names. Even if you wanted to use, historical like newspaper articles and things like that as inspiration for the various cards that are used in the game, because this is a card-driven game like Watergate is. Yeah, that's kind of how I would have liked to have seen this. But, that's just me. Like I said, I'm very interested in this game. A little uncomfortable about this game as well. All right. So Keldon is with us in chat. I think I just saw someone else popping on in. Maybe not. Tessie Trekkie. Tessie Trekkie's with us. Watergate is so awesome. Yes, like I said, I like it quite a bit too. It kind of gives you that historical card-driven itch scratching without like having to break out, say, like 1960, The Making of a President, or of course, another of my favorites, Twilight Struggle. So pretty sweet. Very nice. Kevin says, I believe he moved to Yugoslavia or Bulgaria or somewhere in that area. I think he's actually buried. I might be wrong. I thought he's buried in Reykjavik. I don't know. There you go. Tessie Trek, he says Iceland. That's what I thought. I thought that's where because he was kind of a recluse from like the mid 70s on. In fact, I think, what was it once again, I don't know tons about this guy because like I said, he's a scumbag. And for some reason, I think he went like 20 or 25 years where he was completely like off the grid. So, and I think it started like in 75 or something like that, because he did not defend his world championship for some reason. He disagreed with how they were going to present the contest or something. Kevin says he may have moved around too. I know he hadn't lived in the U.S. for years when he resurfaced in the 90s. Like I said, I think the 90s is when he came up with that really repulsive quote. Moving right along, let's talk about some role-playing game news. Pre-orders have begun for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay Uberstrike Adventures number 3. Here's the scoop. Uberstrike Adventures 3 contains 4 exciting adventures alongside a comprehensive introductory chapter that covers the dramatic events that had befallen the city of Uberstrike in the wake of the turmoil and last days of the Enemy Within campaign. It includes new characters, locations, and plots, and provides suggestions and advice on incorporating developments your characters may have experienced or caused during the events of the Enemy Within campaign. Ambitious noble families and the powerful guild masters vie for influence and control in the wake of direct imperial control, and characters familiar with the Uberstrike, or who already have a reputation, may quickly find themselves caught up in the intricate plans and backhanded deceptions of those seeking power. Included are an eye for an eye, a dilapidated hunting lodge, a missing noble's son, and an ominous painting spelled disaster in the forests north of Uberstrike. Mutiny and the Beast, political ambition and marauding orcs and goblins in the sleepy farming village of Geisbach. The horror of Hugeldal, a deceitful physician, a traveling carnival, and a lingering sickness beleaguer the mining town of Hugeldal. And then there's Mirror of Desire. The characters find themselves embroiled in the love affairs of the young nobility of Uberstrike, with disastrous consequences. Right now, you can pre-order the 128-page hardcover, which includes the PDF if you order from Cubicle 7 Entertainment for an MSRP of $39.99, or you can grab the PDF right now over at Drive-Thru RPG for $19.99. Should mention the physical book is expected to release in the first quarter of 2024. So it is a little ways off. But I am very happy to see more Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay adventuring coming out that takes place after the Enemy Within director's cut. So there is that. I have to point out, for some strange reason, I had forgotten I reviewed The Empire in Ruins on a live show. And people have been asking, hey, when are you going to, review the final chapter of The Enemy Within director's cut? And I'm like, oh, it's on the horizon. And then I just realized, I think it was yesterday. I was like, wait a second, I reviewed that. So Tessie Trekkie says that they just Wikipedia'd Bobby Fischer. Dear heavens, he's a horrible, horrible human. Yes. Yes, he is. Or was, I should say. You know what I always screw up is Bobby Riggs. For some strange reason, Bobby Riggs, who isn't he the guy who played Billie Jean King in tennis and just got obliterated, but he was like, oh yes, women can't outperform a man in sports, and for some oddball reason, first thing that usually pops in my head with Bobby Fischer is him, Bobby Riggs. I don't know why. When I take a moment, I realize, well, no, wait, they're two absolutely separate people. And yes, Bobby Riggs was kind of a, misogynist dipshit, but he was no Bobby Fischer, that's for sure. On to the next news piece. The third volume in the Cults of RuneQuest series is out in print and PDF. I've got the lowdown on the Earth Goddesses. Within the earth is life, within the earth is death. Cults of RuneQuest, the Earth Goddesses, is the player's guide to the Earth Pantheon of Glorantha. This book covers the mythology of the Earth Pantheon of gods and provides mechanics for each of their cults to create your RuneQuest adventure. Cults of RuneQuest, the Earth Goddesses, features 16 cults, including, get ready, I'm going to mispronounce a bunch of these, Illyria, Goddess of Love, Tykoratek, Goddess of the Dead, Dunander, God of Music, Australia, Goddess of Wealth and Fortune, Marangor, the Earthquake Goddess, and more. The book also includes cults especially suitable for non-human adventurers, such as Aldira, the ancestress of the elves, and Mostel, the maker of the dwarves. Wait, nobody associated with the ducks? What? It includes new rules to use these cults and character creation in RuneQuest, detailing the skills, passions, spirit magic, and rune magic these cults offer. You'll also find new cult-specific skills and even some rune magic. Embody the power of your god with rules for how your adventurer can grow into a god talker, rune priestess, or even a mighty rune lord. The book details the unique organization, history, and nature of each of its 16 cults. It also covers the storied history of the Earth Pantheon, mythology of blooming life, death, and transformation. This 144-page hardcover, which includes the PDF if you order from Chaosium Inc., carries an MSRP of $37.99, or you can grab just the PDF alone over at DriveThruRPG for $18.99. Tessie Trekkie says, yes, every RuneQuest book misses the main god of all the ducks. All praise mighty Howard. Vladimir says, mispronounce those names. I never noticed. Actually, I think I was probably fairly close on those. They looked a little trickier than I think they actually turned out to be as I was glancing through it. Yes. Kevin says Bobby Riggs was doing that whole Billie Jean King deal, half as a publicity stunt to make money in his flagging career. Yeah, there's a movie. In fact, wasn't it Steve Carell plays him? I never had an opportunity to see it. I heard it was very good. I heard it was really, really well done. And it kind of showed that, you know, Bobby Riggs and Billie Jean King weren't really like at each other's throats. Like, you know, they made it out in the press. They kind of both knew that it was kind of, you know, a publicity stunt sort of thing. At least that's how I think it plays out. So I should mention, earlier today, I received the Cults of RuneQuest, the Lightbringers, and Cults of RuneQuest, the Earth Goddesses. So I will be sharing first look videos of them this weekend. I am not going to include them on the show. I got to be honest. I think the RuneQuest videos tend to do better as far as number of viewers when they're standalone videos, as opposed to being on the live show. It's kind of strange how that works. Like Call of Cthulhu stuff does really well on the live show. So it's kind of odd. Right, on to my final news piece. Making its way into stores next month is Dungeons & Dragons Phandelver and Below of the Shattered Obelisk. Here's the skinny. Uncover a new threat, Phandelin, in this timeless dungeoneering adventure for the world's greatest role-playing game. Phandelver and Below, the Shattered Obelisk, is a high fantasy adventure that begins in the beloved town of Phandelin as it faces unimaginable danger. Whether the heroes are newcomers to Phandelin or are returning after the acclaimed Dungeons & Dragons adventure Lost Mine of Phandelver, they discover hints of a threat lurking below the town. The heroes soon learn that the cult of a malevolent entity has set its sights on transforming Phandelin into the capital of its evil empire. To save the town from oblivion, the heroes must uncover a nefarious plot and confront the otherworldly cultists directly. This offers new dungeon masters and players the opportunity to dive into their first full-fledged Dungeons & Dragons adventure. It retains the beloved lost mine of Phandelver quests that unfold into a brand new adventure with classic D&D themes and a tinge of horror. It presents a bestiary with approximately 24 new creatures that showcase psionic magic, body horror, and more. Provides a magical index that includes new consumable meta magic items, Netherese amulets, and Duragar magic. Includes a double-sided poster map with the Phandelin region on one side and the town of Phandelin, plus key encounters in the adventure on the other. This 200-page hardcover is going to carry an MSRP of $59.95 when it lands in stores on September 19th. And currently, you can pre-order the physical and digital bundle together, so you get both the physical book and the digital release through D&D Beyond for that exact same price, $59.95, at least for a limited time. Should also point out, there are folks out there who are indicating that this is a 224-page hardcover. That is not the case. It is 200 pages. That comes from Penguin Publishing and Amazon. Both of them indicate it is 200 pages. And if anybody's going to know how many pages this adventure book is, it's going to be them. Kevin says tennis kayfabe. I know what kayfabe is. Even though I have absolutely no interest in wrestling, I know what kayfabe is. That's pretty wild. All right, so I'm going to talk about something that I'm hearing regarding this adventure in just a moment. But that is it for the news tonight. Of course, previously I was talking about Drive-Thru RPG. Don't forget, the Gaming Gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you're going to visit Drive-Thru RPG or Dungeon Masters Guild, Storyteller's Vault, Wargame Vault, what have you, please stop by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banner ads. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get a small portion of that sale. And let's say, for an example, you wanted to go to Dungeon Masters Guild, you can still click on a Drive-Thru RPG banner ad over at thegaminggang.com. And when you get to Drive-Thru RPG, look at the lower left portion of the page, click on DM's Guild, and it will still retain the affiliate code. Same goes for Wargame Vault, Storyteller's Vault, what have you. Flaming Heron also points out what I was just about to say. Pretty good cosmic horror sale that's going on right now at Drive-Thru RPG. Yes, 25% off. So there are quite a few thousand cosmic horror related, and some I noticed are just horror related, which is fine. Always like saving money. So that is going on. Kevin R. Smith points out that yes, we are in the same boat of knowing what kayfabe is and having absolutely no interest in wrestling. I also want to mention, if you like this video, if you dig the channel, if you find thegaminggang.com to be a valuable resource, hell, if you just like what we do, by all means, you can always stop on by paypal.me/thegaminggang to make a small donation. Hell, you can buy me a 2-liter bottle of soda. It's kind of my cue to take a sip here. So I keep the old voice box lubricated, the mouth machine. Anyway, thank you to all of you out there who use the banner ads and or stop by paypal.me, because it really, really does help keep thegaminggang.com around. So thank you very, very much. Okay, so anyway, so I was going to say, in regards to the new Dungeons & Dragons adventure book that's coming out next month, which I'm thinking I might get my hands on a week ahead of time. It's kind of unusual. Sometimes I get books 2-3 weeks out. Other times I've gotten some D&D releases 2 days before they went on sale. So, as I pointed out before, I kind of have the feeling that Phandelver and Below, the Shattered Obelisk, is actually going to be pretty good. And there are a few reasons why I sort of have that impression. One of them is it's actually based on the adventure that comes in the starter set, which I thought was pretty good as a beginning adventure. Now it's fleshed out far more. In fact, I'm not sure if it takes the player characters to 12th level or 8th level, or I might be completely wrong about that altogether. But I do know it's expanded, and I sort of get the feeling that it's got a little bit of a cosmic horror vibe going on. And I would not be shocked, just saying, I would not be shocked if we actually see some Lovecraftian Cthulhu mythos creatures. Because I almost get the feeling, now I'm probably completely wrong. I almost get the feeling that there's going to be like a color out of space. Maybe. Because I heard a rumor that there's like new rules for corruption, as in corrupting the town. So I don't know. But the thing I wanted to mention is that I have been encountering a bunch of people complaining online. Wow, you never see that, do you? You never see anybody complain online. Nobody whinges online, do they? And Ben Whisper with a super chat. Thank you very much. Thank you very kindly. So Flaming Heron says, if you're buying from the one bookshelf sites, it makes sense to throw a few bones Jeff's way. Yeah, because it doesn't cost you anything. So Flaming Heron says, the internet outraged. Huh? No, I threw the huh in there. So it's being presented as this adventure is going to be more inclusive. And there are some NPCs in the adventure who are going to be gender swapped from the original Lost Mines of Phandelver. And I think some of the characters, their race is being changed. Now, that was actually mentioned from somebody from Wizards of the Coast. So if they're saying their race is changed, then they are not talking about, oh, they're going from like elf to dwarf. Because remember, they don't use the term race. It's species now, or culture, or what have you. They don't want to use the word race. Fine. So I guess what they're indicating is that the color of the NPC's skin is going to be different. And people have an issue with this. And it's like, really? It's like, what? And Darius Termina is with us in chat. Keldon says, I was going to complain, but now you mention it. So, you know, I run across this stuff, and yes, like many people out there, a lot of this really just over the top hand wringing about, oh my goodness, from these various different game publishers, especially role-playing game publishers. Much of it is nonsense. We know that. We understand that. It's like, I say it all the time. The only color these companies care about is green. So, but yes, I run across some of this stuff. And when they're like patting themselves on the back about, oh, how inclusive this is going to be. And, oh, blah, blah, blah. I kind of roll my eyes. I go, yeah. Okay. All right. I understand what you're doing. Yeah. Okay. But it doesn't upset me because I talk about it all the time. I think inclusion and more diversity in our hobby is a good thing. Always have thought that. Some people don't like that. Whatever. I don't give a shit if you like it or not. But I just don't understand how people get all like bent out of shape. For one, this isn't like a classic story that's been around for decades. It's from the starter set. Come on, which came out, 7 years ago? Something like that. It's like, come on. Oh, I can't believe it. People freak out about like The Little Mermaid and things like that. I mean, this is the kind of level of outrage that I've seen from some people online. And I just don't understand it. If you get upset about this kind of stuff, and I understand it, many of you out there watching this, you kind of look at some of this stuff the same way as I do, and you're like, I know what you're really doing. It's not always out of the kindness of their hearts or the goodness within that drives some of this stuff. But if somebody spends their days outraged over this kind of nonsense, it's like, man, you need to find other hobbies. You really do. I just do not get it. Fleming Heron says, I can understand why changing it because it doesn't make a lot of sense in a fantasy world. But am I getting bent out of shape? Not really. I'm not interested in it either way. Like I said, I kind of have the impression, and I might turn out to be absolutely wrong because I'll be, as long as they send it to me, I'll be reviewing this. And if it's not any good, I will tell you if it sucks or not. But like I said, I kind of get the feeling that this might be all right. Unless they totally blow up Lost Mind of Fendelver and or completely go off the rails in the expanded material that they're going to have. Don't know. Do not know. All right. So that's it. That's all I wanted to mention. I see this stuff and it's some of the, just the piss and vinegar that fills people about silly ass board game, role-playing game, video game shit is beyond me. I just don't get it. What I don't understand is how bent out of shape do they get over important things in life? I mean, did their heads explode? Is it like scanners? I don't know. All righty. So we are going to be diving on in and taking a look at Flying Colors under the Southern Cross from GMT Games in just a few moments. But first, I think it's time for a brief intermission.
It's intermission time, folks. Time out for a delicious snack in our sparkling refreshment building. Every item a fresh, appetizing taste treat.
is right where you should be. For whatever takes your fancy, come on over and see.
Now's the time to try it hot.
Or the time to taste it cool.
We've got them plain, with cheese,
Or with a lot.
sip it long,
Or sip it short. Munch it crunchy.
or cop it sweet.
This village dining restaurant is right where you should be. For whatever takes your fancy, come on over and see.
Crisp and gold.
Or icy cold.
This makes movies much more fun.
So does this.
And this. And this.
This village dining restaurant is right where you should be. For whatever takes your fancy, come on over and see.
Wherefore art thou, Romeo, and whereof is my Wilkins instant coffee?
The coffee's all gone.
Well, so am I.
Sugar Bear, stop the blob!
I'm taking over the West, and I'm going to destroy you very much.
Well, I don't believe in violence myself, but I race you across the Grand Canyon.
Winner gets the West.
Better have Super Sugar Crisp, and Honey Sweet Vitamin Cereal for superpower. Hello, goodbye, Blob.
You'll get it next time, Peter.
And at Post Super Sugar Crisp, you get a cartoon adventure book. Free, free, free.
Now, from Milton Bradley, it's
Go!
You take your card and put it in a rack. If you don't want it, put it back. Very first player to make a run says,
Go!
what fun.
That's Racco, Milton Bradley's great card game for 2, 3, or 4 players of any age. Get
Go!
What fun.
And here's another great fun game from Milton Bradley.
Easy money. Easy money. You buy some land and houses too. You make it rich from the rent, or you'll be flat broke when the mortgage is due. Either way, it's fun when you play. Easy money. Easy money.
Easy Money and Racco, 2 good reasons that
Milton Bradley makes the best games in the world.
Get Racco.
And easy money from MB.
Yes, that was an Australian ad to lead off. Looked like it was from the 80s. And I think that was a drive-in. It was a drive-in theater, or it was a theater, because it was weird because it's like it's a restaurant, but they're also talking about movies. So I was kind of curious. I had never encountered that before. I ran across that snipe and I thought, I'm gonna share that because we do have some folks from Australia who watch the show. I thought maybe they would let us in on what that was, right? Yes, and Easy Money looked like a Monopoly ripoff from the word go. Did it? I was like, as Sarah D pointed out, gee, that doesn't look familiar at all. Right, so before we jump on into Flying Colors Under the Southern Cross from GMT Games, did want to mention once again, in case you tuned in a little late, I gave away the code for a free Pop Yourself from Funko on last night's show, and Roger Prudhomme was the winner, and it turns out that Funko does not ship outside the United States. And Roger's up in Canada. So I've got that code to give away again. So what I'm going to do is, if you live in the U.S., you got to live in the U.S., watching live right now, I'm going to give you a moment here to take a look at a couple of Funko Pops that are behind me. First person to tell me who those two characters are wins the code. Actually, there's 3 of them there behind me. First person give me 2 of the 3. And they are all fictional characters. And yes, I know they are not in focus. I am not going to jump up and go play around with the lens so I can get those in focus. So, like I said, first one to chime in with 2 of those 3 characters will win the code, and you got to live in the U.S. Otherwise, you're going to go through all the excitement of putting together a pop yourself and then be like, well, wait, what? You won't ship to my country? What? All right. So let's jump on into my first look and unboxing, of course, of Flying Colors Under the Southern Cross from, hey, wait a second. That's weird. Why did that not change? Why is that last night's? I was like, okay. I specifically had the correct slide in there. Oh, man, I swear I thought this solid state drive was working okay again. I guess it's not. Anyway, I'm going to be looking at Flying Colors Under the Southern Cross from GMT Games. It's designed by Mike Nagel and Steve Paul. The game is for 1 to 4 players, ages 12 and up. Plays in 3 to 8 hours, which is going to depend on the scenario you happen to be playing. It is available now, and it does carry an MSRP of $62. So take a look at the back here. Napoleon's invasions of Portugal and Spain fractured royalist sovereignty over both nations' empires in the New World. Patriots across the continent were quick to seize on the opportunity, and as the second decade of the 19th century opened, independence movements sprang up all over the Americas. While the names of Bolivar, San Martin, and Belgrano may be familiar, the role of naval and riverine forces in the various wars of independence and the ensuing conflicts between the new American republics has largely been overlooked until now. I'm not going to go through all of this, but this is a 6 out of 9 complexity-wise and 6 out of 9 for solitaire suitability. So this is the 4th volume in the Flying Colors series. And it is South American Naval Battles in the Age of Sail, 1811 to 1841. Let's jump on in. So we've got a playbook and our rule book. Yes. So we are going to take a look at the rule book first. If I remember correctly, I think Flying Colors is on its 3rd edition. And there is a deluxe box set that is available for it. Flying Colors is a simulation of naval warfare in the period dating roughly from 1750 to 1825. Well, we know that's going to be a little bit later because it says 1841 on the box. Unlike most other games depicting this topic, this game simulates large fleet actions as well as individual ship duels without the minutiae of shipboard operations. This allows players to compare the qualities of the forces and their commanders. The game is intended to play quickly with minimal rules referencing. This version of the Flying Colors rules represents a split of the game rules from accompanying scenarios, allowing the rules manual to be updated and corrected without an impact upon the scenarios included in each series game. So we've got our components. So we've got our playing pieces. We've got our front and back for the ships. We'll get a closer look at these as well. So we're going to get a relative rate, damage capacity, the ship's name, does it carry Marines or not, gunnery and actual rate. And then we get a damage side, which is also going to show us a victory point value. Then we've got some informational counters as well. Flying Colors is, for all intents, 2 games in one. The fleet game allows the recreation of major naval actions with dozens of ships on a side. Owing to the number of ships involved, much of the minutiae of shipboard activities are swept away in favor of quick play. The duel game only involves 1 or 2 ships per side, and so the focus is returned to tactical ship handling decisions. Otherwise, duels would be little more than an exercise. The core rules cover all the basic mechanics of movement and combat used for the fleet game. So we get our port, starboard, bow, and stern sides for both the single square and the rectangular counters there. So examples, we've got various illustrations for movement. We have collisions, grappling, fire combat, massed broadsides, mixed fleets. We have optional rules for chase guns. I would think that would be more for the duels. Raking effects, hit results. I've always been a fan of naval war games. Regardless of era. I mean, even Ancients. I've played some Ancients naval games way, way back in the day. I don't know what it is. I don't know why I have an interest in naval games. Part of it probably does date back to my high school years when we played Fletcher Pratt's naval war game. So we've got initiative cards. So we've got boarding actions and melee combat. And then we get into a very small section here, which talks about the ship duels. Ship duels comprise those flying colors scenarios where there are no more than 2 ships per side and no commanders are used. These scenarios use a different map and a somewhat different set of rules than a fleet scenario, owing to the removal of the command system used in larger scenarios. The core rules are used for the most part, with any differences indicated within this section here. So Indarius says, I love naval warfare in games, but never found one that felt exactly how I wanted. You know, I got to agree with you as far as, say, like World War I, World War II, or even, I would say, Age of Dreadnoughts through the Second World War. Because in some ways, I really love Fletcher Pratt's naval war game, but then there really aren't any rules for catastrophic hits. And then I've played, I've played Sea Krieg and General Quarters, and it seems like every one of those games, there's more than those I've played. I just can't recall the titles. Every one of those games has something really cool, but then they just one thing that's a little kind of off. So the Madman says Peacemaker and Ted Lasso. I believe, I'm just going to look real quick. Yep, there you go. The Madman is our winner because it is Blutarski from Animal House, Peacemaker, and Ted Lasso. So yes, the Madman's the winner. So Madman, just shoot me an email. I will get you that code. All right, so just taking a look at some special rules for this release. We've got river shoals and grounding, gunboats, Montevideo and El Cerro, so the thing I was kind of interested in with this release is it's going to be some relatively unexplored naval battles that I think that make up this edition. So we have the Argentine War of Independence. So we have Scenario 1, San Nicolas. the campaign of 1814. Martin Garcia. Arroyo de la China. I don't think it was pronounced China. Puerto Buqueo. And then it looks like we've got 2 parts to this. And it doesn't look like we have huge fleets either. So the Spanish sortie has 8 ships on this side and 12 ships on that side. Now we have Brown's victory. We have the Chilean War of Independence. So we start off with a duel scenario. Oh, we've got some duels here as well. Liberators and Corsairs, privateers during the Independence Wars. We've got the Brazilian War of Independence. This one has a couple of scenarios. Some of these only have like 1 scenario. So Roger Perdum says, congrats, the madman. My loss is your gain. And yes, we're going to have to see that Funko Pop. The madman's going to have to email me a photo when it arrives. I got to be honest, I don't know what the turnaround time is for the press for my Pop Yourself. It was a couple of weeks. And I'm pretty sure they were trying to rock those out as quickly as they possibly could. So we have the Cisplatin War. Not familiar with that. So Mr. Marmello says, read the back of the box. I did read the back of the box. I did read all of it because it's just telling us what we're seeing right now. Punta Corrales. Oh, looks like we might actually have a few scenarios for this Cisplatin War. Battle for the Uruguay, the Wonkel campaign. I'm not familiar with like any of this. So it's like, I'm like, oh, I'm intrigued. So as you can see, we are getting larger and larger fleets that are entering the equation here. Nice. What do we have? Maybe 20 scenarios here? Maybe more. Ensenada. The action of January 15th, 1828. So the madman says I can take a screenshot of it and send to you once it's been created, since we don't have to wait for it to arrive. That's true. You can easily do that. So we have the Peru-Gran Colombia War. We have the Argentine privateers, more ship duels. Las Cruces. The War of the Confederation, Chile, versus Peru and Bolivia. Also have some ship duels for that. And then the campaign of 1841. This is a pretty small scenario here. Action of May 24th, 1841. So we have 25 scenarios. And then we have a bibliography here. So packed with loads of scenarios, that is for sure. We've got a couple of punch boards. But you know what? I'll save those for last. Let's take a look at the player aids. So we have, looks like single copies of these. So we have Player Aid 1, which has our firepower determination table, carronade table, hit results, Firing versus large vessels. Those are the rectangular ships. Firing versus small vessels. Those are the square counters. Movement table, tacking, wind adjustment, river shoals, ships on fire, and the grounding table. So that's the first player aid. Then we've got the second player aid, which has a collision table, evasion table, grappling rules. Inside joke. Longtime viewers know what I'm joking about. Break-off table, strike table, disengagement table, command transfer table. And then we've got some specific tables for specific scenarios right there. We've got our sequence of play, and it looks like it's our turn track. Yep, it is our turn track. Got our wind direction, which is going to be extremely important because this is the age of sail, right? So, and of course, this is going to be single-sided because how could you track? Oh my gosh, it's not. Oh, I see. So this is sequence of play. Sequence of play if you're playing the duel. See, I started to say, oh, it's only going to be single-sided because how could you have a turn track and have something on the back of it? Yeah, all right, wise guy. That's what happens. That's what happens. Think you're so smart, Jeff. You're not. Right, so I'm taking a guess these maps here are just going to be sea zones. Looks like we've got different depths. So AB. Don't have any land masses, at least not on this one. But looks like we've got a few. These are paper maps. And I didn't think we were going to see any land masses here. Although I wouldn't be shocked if we've got some counters that represent land. We'll see. And then we have a dual map. Oh, this is cool. So this actually has a bunch of the tables on it. Nice. That is really cool. I like that a lot. But I mean, granted, of course, you had the player aids as well, but still, that's very cool. And here is just the dual area map here. So we have ship status sections as well. And there are only 4 status boxes there. So we've got that. Got a 10-sided die. And we got a deck of cards. See what we've got. So we've got maneuver cards. I think there's a few different decks, or 2 or 3 different decks. Okay, here's maneuver. Oh, okay. So it's for the 2 sides. And then we have a golden maneuver card out of command options. So I'm going to zoom in. So we'll take a look at these cards here. All right. To rule the waves. Repeaters, local breezes, tack in succession, miscommunication, fog of war, close range fire, critical hit, fire as she bears, transfer the flag, carpenter's mates. I'm guessing both decks are going to be the same. Rigging repairs, don't give up the ship, follow me who can, Repel borders. Grape shot. And then you'll notice it when playing these cards has a specific effect, but it also shows an effect on initiative as well. So speed, tacking, wear, firing, command, hard over, play on a single ship. That ship may either automatically succeed in an evasion attempt or deny an attacker all rake effects during an attack. Orders from the Admiral. Excellence aloft. Expert topman. Major helmsman. Would not be shocked if each of the scenarios also indicates which cards go into your deck. So Kevin R. Smith says, anybody who's played D&D 3.0 or 5, or Pathfinder First Edition will get jokes about grappling rules. Though I'm sure you're referencing Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. Of course. Of course. Master Gunner. Fire on the roll. Gunnery accident. Play on a single ship in the process of firing and roll a die. On a result of 0 through 6, raise the relative rate of the firing ship by 1 on the firepower determination table. Mark the broadside as fired if the ship pushes the relative rate off the chart. On a result of 7 or 8, mark the broadside as fired. On a result of 9, mark both broadsides as fired. Dent smoke and blind eye to danger. Cool. So those are the decks. And let's take a look at the ships. We're going to take a look at these counter sheets, dual-sided. So these are the smaller ships. And as you can see, we've got a variety of different colors because each nation is going to be a different color here. Some of it's kind of funny because they're kind of all over the place a little bit. So as an example, this is like up here. These are facing the right way, but then these aren't. So it's kind of like, I'm not used to seeing a counter sheet from GMT Games where they're not all like, okay, this is all, face up. So that's kind of funny. So these are those ships. And then we flip these over and these are the damage sides. We've got some informational counters as well. Thought I saw some commanders. Yeah, here we go. We've got various different commanders here. Nice. And then I was going to say, these are all little ships. There aren't any 1-inch. There aren't any 1-inch ships. So these are all small vessels. Oh, no, wait. I take that back. We have 3. Oh, that's wild. Well, that's kind of cool. So these are all small ships. Wow, nice. Interesting. Well, I guess that would make sense. I mean, these are small countries and their fleets. Some of them are rebels trying to earn their independence. All right, looks like these are all informational tokens. Adrift, on fire, shoal, fouled, captured. Very nice. And as usual, pretty good card stock. The width of these, pretty decent. All right. So we have got, let's grab the box here. The cool insert. We always get our cool GMT insert. So we've got the 2 decks of cards. 10-sided die, sequence of play and turn track, the 2 player aid cards. We have 3 maps, one of which is our dual map, and the other are ocean maps. And these were just single side, in case you didn't notice that. We have our playbook with all of our scenarios. We've got our 2 punch boards of counters, as well as our rule book. And that is what we find when we take everything from Flying Colors Volume 4 Under the Southern Cross. Outside the box. Yes, from GMT Games. I will try to have some coverage of this in the future. Once again, some of the GMT offerings, I have a hard time getting to the table with my gang because they're not necessarily big war gamers and stuff. So that is a look inside the box of Under the Southern Cross from GMT Games. Once again, this is for 1 to 4 players, ages 12 and up. Plays in 3 to 8 hours, depending on the scenario. Actually, I think it's 14 and up on the back here. So once again, Board Game Geek, incorrect information. It is for 14 and up. Plays in 3 to 8 hours, depending on the scenario. And this does carry an MSRP of $62. As I always point out when we're taking a look at GMT titles, if you've got any interest in Flying Colors Volume 4 Under the Southern Cross, pick it up now, because the GMT Games print runs aren't huge. And if you miss out, you're either going to have to wait a couple of years or more for another print run, or you'll be stuck having to go onto the secondary market and paying top dollar to get your hands on it. So you don't want to have to do that. All righty then. So I should mention, I got a bunch of goodies in the mail today. So we will be looking at some of this stuff. Well, I shouldn't say some of it, all of it in the future. I'm not sure what we'll do on the live show and what I'll do standalone videos for. But first of all, I got a couple of adventures for the Elf King, the Immortal role-playing game. So we've got Rune of the Rose Tower and Lair of the Crimson God. There's Rose Tower, Crimson God. So received that. Those are from Lucid Eye Publications. Also pointed out earlier, got the Lightbringers as well as the Earth Goddesses for RuneQuest, part of the Cults of RuneQuest series from Chaosium Inc. I got a package with a couple of GMT titles. So we've got more Wargame Wednesdays on the horizon. Got North Africa 41, which is designed by Mark Simonich. So looks pretty traditional, sort of kind of hex and counter war game. Then we have the latest release in the Levian Campaign series. Isn't that what it's called? Yes, it is Levian Campaign. The Voko Runekey series, although I don't think this is designed by him. No, it is not. And it is Plantagenet. I think it's the Cousins War. Isn't that what it says? Cousins War for England. There we go, right here. I'm kind of curious. I sort of had the impression that this might be as entry level as it gets for Levian Campaign. So, got that. And then I had already mentioned that I got some Broncolonia titles, the two books that I had not covered yet. So I've got Jinx's Almanac, as well as the Emperor, or I should say the Empire Wax Back. And I already mentioned before that, I will be sharing a Kickstarter preview of the bestiary that's coming for Broncolonia. So stay tuned for that. So on tomorrow's show, we are going to dive on in and take a look at Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay Winds of Magic. Yes. So that is what we're taking a peek at tomorrow. And then I think what we'll do next week is on Tuesday's show, we'll look at Jinx's Almanac for Broncolonia. And then Wednesday, we will do another Wargame Wednesday. We'll take a look at Plantagenet. And then on next Thursday's show, a week from tomorrow, we're going to take a peek at Tiny Epic Vikings and Tiny Epic Vikings Ragnarok from GMT Games. So, got plenty cooking. I also received the Pathfinder releases for this month. Kind of a quiet month as far as the Paizo Inc. releases. But I also have some other Paizo coverage that I'll be sharing very shortly. But I will be doing an August Paizo preview. So that'll be this weekend. You'll have more videos this weekend. Just like last weekend, what did I do? 4? I shared 4 videos on my time away from the live shows. So I've been busy. All right. So Flaming Herons points out, yeah, I was wondering how much they were going to support Elf King. Well, now you know. We actually have some minis, I think, that are on the way. Flaming Heron also points out, no shortage of videos. No, there is not. So the Madman says they won't be around next Wednesday and Thursday. They're going to be at Dragon Con. Yes, the annual Madman pilgrimage to Dragon Con. Nice. All right, that is it for this time out. If you like the video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, don't forget, ring that bell. It'll not only let you know when the Dispatch streams live Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings right here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Central. It'll also let you know when I upload other videos, such as my recent first look at Tales from the Wastes for 5e Dungeons and Dragons from my friends over at Cobalt Press. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit gaminggang.com for all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more that you will not find here on the YouTube channel. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. If you're watching live, thank you very much. If you watched live and took part in chat, big tip of the cap to you, because not only are you keeping me company, you're also keeping each other company while I'm messing around unboxing games and flipping through role-playing game books and such activities. So I appreciate that you keep each other entertained in chat as well. All right. Enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of day it is in your neck of the woods. Of course, many of you out there, you don't get a chance to watch live, so I don't know what time it is in your neck of the woods, but I can tell you I do appreciate you showing up and watching any of the videos here on the channel. So I will be back tomorrow, and of course, I hope each and every one of you gets to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.